Very good afternoon to Dr. Uyi and my fellow friends. My name is Hani Sofia binti Kamaruzaman with metric number 273734. Today, I'm going to present about the summary of our group chosen MFRS, which is MFRS 11 Joint Arrangement. According to MFRS 11, joint arrangement is an arrangement where joint control exists between two or more parties. Mfrs 11 classified joint arrangement into two types, which are joint operation and joint ventures. Mfrs 11 also highlights the necessity for the parties of joint arrangement to determine the types of joint arrangement that they are involved in by assessing their rights and obligations in the joint arrangement according to the structure and legal form of the arrangement, the contractual terms agreed by the parties of the arrangement, as well as other facts and circumstances. Then, the parties of joint arrangement also required to account for the rights and obligations in the joint arrangement based on the types of joint arrangement that they are involved in by using the relevant financial reporting standards applicable. Now, I'm going to present about the main parties that are involved in the development of MFRS 11. There are two main parties that are involved in the MFRS 11 development. There are Malaysian Accounting Standards Board, MASB, and also MASB Working Group. First, I'm going to explain about the MASB involvement in the development of MFRS 11. MASB published the IFRS 11 draft technical pronouncement in the MASB website at Comment Online feature so that the public can provide their opinions regarding this IFRS draft to MASB. Besides, MASB also consider all public comments received as well as working groups' comments and recommendations on the IFRS 11 draft during their discussion before sending a comment letter to IASB. After IFRS 11 was published, MASB will deliberate on the working group's recommendation on the IFRS 11, then send the copy of MFRS 11 to the Financial Reporting Framework members for their comment before MASB issued MFRS 11. Meanwhile, the involvement of the MASB Working Group in the development of MFRS 11 is that Working Group 64 was set up to review the Joint Arrangement Exposure Draft with Mr. Chan Hui Lam as the chairman and MASB Secretariat as the project manager. MASB Working Group is also involved in the development of MFRS 11 by conducting due deliberation on the public's comment received regarding the IFRS 11 draft pronouncement. Then, the working group will provide recommendations to the issues raised in the IFRS 11 draft pronouncement by the public for the MASB consideration. After IFRS 11 was issued, the working group will consider any changes made in the IFRS 11 to its draft pronouncement and provide recommendation on the IFRS 11 for MASB deliberation. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. I'll pass the presentation to my friend Ain.
Thank you, Hanis. My name is Nur Ain Hamizah Muhammad Halim and my number entry is 273658. I'm going to present about three theories involved in the development of MFRS 11 joint arrangement. The three theories, which is the first one is pragmatic accounting theory, the second one is ethical accounting theory, and the last one is regulatory accounting theory. As for the pragmatic accounting theory, the theory is developed and constructed based on the observation of the real world situation that took place. So it's really practicable as it's based on the real world situation. There are three basic steps used in pragmatic accounting theory, which is the first one is determines the needs. The second one is determine the objective based on the needs, and the last one is development of the rules or methods. As for the first step, which is determine the needs, Mfrs 11 is developed to overcome the limitations of the former standard, which is IAS 31, interest in joint venture. The second step is to determine the objective, which is Mfrs is built to build the basic principles on the financial report of entity that have interest in control of a joint arrangement. The objective is like to clearly define the joint control and to highlight the necessity of determining which type of joint arrangement an entity was in, and also to explain the interest that will be applied accordingly with the types of joint arrangement. The last step is to develop of a method, which is developing of Mfrs 11 joint arrangement as a principle and guideline for the needs and also the objective determined. The second theory developed is ethical accounting theory, which is concept of true and fair as the basis of the theory. So the standard developed should be away from the bias, from the influence and favorable of others. There are three basic considerations used, which is the first one is justice, the second one is the truth, and the last one is the fairness. As for justice, it is to ensure that the accounting procedure provide an equitable treatment to all the interest party. And as for the truth, is to present a true and accurate statement that did not contain possible misstatement. And the last one is fairness, is to present to have a fair and unbiased accounting standard. It is matching with the Mfrs 11 standard, which is emphasized on the concept of right and obligations, where the party in a joint arrangement need to recognize their right that's come from the arrangements. So, when we want to decide types of joint arrangement, of course, the things that need to take into consideration is the structure and the form of arrangement, the term agreed by parties involved, and other influential facts or circumstances need to also to consider. So since the Mfrs is focused on the right and obligation concept, so it is lead to the fair and true elements in the formulation of the standards. The last theory is regulatory accounting theory, which is the theory is to ensure that the standards are stated accordingly. So if there are availability to amend these standards, it should be amended according to the complaint, like the misinformation or lack of information or unclear information. So the development of the standards are to address the weaknesses in the former standards. So it validates that the regulatory is involved in the development of the standards. This new standard is also to tighten up and also to force the company to reveal the substance of joint arrangements. So Mfrs 11 is emphasized the importance of stating and disclosing the existence of substance in the joint arrangement in the report. So that's all from me. Thank you. I will pass this presentation to the next presenter, Aisha.
Thank you, Ain, and a very good day I bid to Dr. Wu and my fellow classmates. My name is Nur Ani Shaira binti Aziz with metric number 273656. I am going to present the next two subtopics from our report. So firstly, I am going to present the basis used to verify Mfrs 11 joint arrangement. So as we know, there are three bases for testing a theory, which are the dogmatic basis, scientific basis, and self-evident basis. But we only use the first two, which are the dogmatic and scientific basis, to verify Mfrs 11. I am going to discuss all these three bases, starting from the dogmatic basis. So we are stated to have verified the statement using the dogmatic basis when we believe in a statement as a result of our trust in the individual or organization who issue it. So this assurance may be based on several criteria as shown here.
MFRS 11 can be verified using this basis because it adopted IFRS 11 joint arrangement issued and amended by IASB. So, in accounting, dogmatism serves as the basis for accepting the validity of rules where a governing body certifies the standards that are widely accepted in the profession. The two criticism on this basis is introspective evidence, which require careful analysis of the content and include personal bias toward the individuals or organization making the statement. Next, MFRS 11 can also be verified using scientific basis. Scientific basis is employed when we believe in a statement due to the logical relationship between the terms and the objective or empirical facts supporting the assertion. IASB has adopted the evidence-based approach to setting its standards when their research program includes publishing the draft of the standard to the public. So since IASB can provide empirical evidence such as data on their research issuing the standard, it shows that MFRS 11 coincides with the theory in the scientific basis where we believe a theory that is made through research or is supported with empirical evidence. Finally, I am going to explain the reason for not choosing self-evident basis in verifying MFRS 11. The self-evident basis is invoked when we believe something because it appears to be rational based on our general knowledge and experience. This basis stresses on reasonableness where there is no need to conduct an empirical study. The two criticisms for the basis is that what one person thinks is rational may not be to another person, and something that seems clear to us may be inaccurate. Hence, this basis is not chosen in verifying MFRS 11 as there is ambiguity on its reliability. Now, let's move on to the next subtopic, which is the nature of MFRS 11 joint arrangement. MFRS 11 uses a principle-based accounting standard to account for joint arrangement in which the party recognize their rights and obligations arising from the arrangement regardless of their structure. MFRS 11 is believed to have established a principle-based accounting standards since it lays a greater emphasis on practitioner judgment than on tighter rules with additional guidance, interpretations, and bright line threshold. For example, MFRS 11 has adopted joint control, which is the essential criteria for joint arrangement. Joint control is the contractually agreed open sharing of control over an arrangement. So since MFRS 11 is designed as a principle-based standard, determining the presence of joint control does not depend on whether a specific threshold is met, such as combined total of 45% or 40%. Instead, the assessment of joint controls require careful judgment from the investor to ensure that they appropriately decide whether the arrangement must be accounted under MFRS 11. As for the second reason, is that MFRS 11 provides broad accounting principles instead of showing detailed numerical standards or regulation. MFRS 11 only established guidelines for determining whether an arrangement is jointly controlled, which type of joint arrangement the parties fall under, and whether an arrangement has fall outside the scope of MFRS 11. This shows that MFRS 11 doesn't provide any specific numerical standard to be followed. Among the benefits of applying principle-based approach in MFRS 11 is that it helps improving verifiability and understandability since accounting more accurately represents the economic phenomena that it is intended to represent. Secondly, this principle will also increase consistency by ensuring that each type of joint arrangement produces the same accounting result. And finally, the application of this principle can enhance financial statement comparability by enabling users to recognize and comprehend similarities and differences in similar arrangement. So I think that's all from me. I will pass the presentation to the next presenter, Sharifatul Zaida, to present the last two parts of the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Anis. Assalamualaikum and good day, everyone. My name is Sharifatul Zaida binti Zainal Abidin. My metric number is 273752. Now, I'll continue on the last part, which is limitations and recommendation of MFRS 11 joint arrangement. According to the post-implementation review of IFRS 11 joint arrangement, there are few limitations mentioned in the meetings. Firstly, the interrelation between MFRS 11 and other standards. MFRS 11 rely on other standards in certain conditions. There are about more than 5 standards have been mentioned to be referred to. Among related standards mentioned in MFRS 11 is MFRS 3, Business Combination, which emphasize on business activity. For instance, if an entity gains interest in a joint operation activity forming a business, principles in business combination defined in MFRS 3 must be referred and related information must be disclosed. Other standards that also involve is MFRS 1 to 8, Investment in Associates and Joint Venture, which specify on the joint venture recognizes as an investment and the needs to be accounted using the equity method. However, this situation is unapplicable if the entity is clearly exempted from applying the equity method as specified in the standard itself. The last example of the standards related is MFRS 12 disclosure of interest in other entities for the disclosure part of joint control parties in joint arrangement. Next limitation is lack of standard explanation. In the standards, there are certain parts that requires further guidance and explanation to avoid wrong judgment made by the entity. First is on classifying joint arrangement, and secondly is the collaborative arrangement outside the MFRS 11 standard scope. According to the board, classifying arrangement requires significant judgment, and less guidance on these standards has difficult the process of determining the arrangement type. As a result, coexistence of joint operation and joint venture might happen due to the difference in assessing the parties' rights and obligations, although they are bound to the same framework agreement because of their joint arrangement type. Besides, collaborative also a common practice in situations that lacks of joint control but do not qualify as a joint arrangement in MFRS 11 in few industries such as the entertainment and pharmaceutical industries. This kind of arrangement may not contractually meet the definition of joint control, but it has a lot in common according to MFRS 11. Therefore, it is often difficult to characterize the arrangement appropriately. Next, let's move on to the recommendation part. In order to overcome the limitations, there are a few recommendations provided. Difficulties in complying to the standards can be overcome by combining certain part of the standards related to MFRS 11. The explanation on every related standard shall be detailed and easy to understand. It is suggested that every related part of the standard shall be restated in the standards. For example, combining principles of MFRS 3 business combination that relates to joint arrangement in the standards. By doing this, whenever an entity has to comply with MFRS 11, other standards that relates can be referred easily and complement with each other. Secondly, lack of standard explanation can be overcome by providing more explanations and guidelines in the standard, especially on the difference between joint arrangement. More clarification is needed on the requirement of joint operation and joint venture to avoid the coexistence of joint operation and joint venture. If the coexistence happens, the entity might have to reassess the type of arrangement. Besides, a simple and clear requirement can reduce the possibility of the misjudgment made by the entity and help in getting a consistent result. I think that's all from us. Thank you.